Let's continue our lecture on the digestive tract, and we're going to jump into what we refer to as our accessory digestive organs. The accessory digestive organs are not going to have food that's going to be passing through it, or bolus or chyme. It is going to be making substances that are going to be deposited into, in particular, our small intestine. Recall that our small intestine is going to be doing the majority of our digesting and our absorbing of all the nutrients. So these accessory organs we're going to be talking about are going to be creating vital chemicals that will allow us to go through that digestive process, and then they're going to dump them into the very first part of that small intestine, referred to as the duodenum or duodenum. We're going to start with the pancreas. So the pancreas here is going to be this yellowish structure. You will need to label the highlighted yellow sections of it that you see in this particular diagram. Now, the pancreas itself is almost shaped like a corn cob, like an ear of corn. And when you look at where it is going to be considered retroperitoneal. So it's going to be behind the stomach and extends all the way from the duodenum to the spleen, which is going to be on the other side of it. So the pancreas itself, in terms of the gross anatomy, you're going to have the head of the pancreas that's going to kind of nestle into where the duodenum is going to be, the tail of the pancreas, and then the majority of it is going to be the body of the pancreas. There's going to be a large pancreatic duct that runs right down the center of it, and do notice the pancreatic duct is going to come out here, and then it is going to deposit its secretions into the duodenum, and you can see the little duct openings over here. Looking at the function of the pancreas, it's going to have three major functions that we're looking at, one of which we've already talked about in another unit. So first of which, we know that it's an endocrine gland. That endocrine gland is going to allow us to regulate our glucose levels within our blood. The major function that we're going to be discussing is its digestive role, though. So for the digestive system, which is 99% of the cells that are going to be associated with the pancreas, those are going to be secreting some of our most potent digestive enzymes for any kind of food that you can think about, essentially. So we're going to be creating those digestive enzymes. We're also going to be neutralizing that acidic chyme. Remember, we just talked about the stomach, and the stomach has anywhere from a pH of like 2 to 3, and that's highly acidic. The chyme from the stomach is fine because it has that thick mucus lining that's going to help to neutralize and protect its cells in its lining. That chyme, though, is getting slowly released into the duodenum of the small intestine. So we need to have a way of neutralizing that chyme because the small intestine doesn't have that protective buffering area that the stomach is going to have. The buffering is going to come from the pancreas because the pancreas is going to be secreting bicarbonate ion. The very basic bicarbonate ion is going to neutralize the acidic chyme. Looking in terms of digesting the food, though, the food digesting is happening in the duodenum, and we have to release those enzymes into the duodenum in order for that to happen. So let's look at the histology over here. So this is an actual micrograph of the pancreas. This is harder to see, so I'm going to kind of look at the diagram that's up here. So looking at a section of the pancreas, we can see that main pancreatic duct that's running right down the center. Well, here's a section of it in the diagram of the microscopic section. You can see that it's going to have this septum. It's going to have a thin connective tissue capsule and septum in there that's going to separate the cells from the different parts here, and then you can see this pancreatic duct we're going to be releasing into. All of these little spaces that you have in the center, these lumen, are going to have connections or ducts that's going to empty into the main pancreatic duct. So what we're going to be looking at are these cells that are going to be surrounding them. These cells are referred to as acinar cells. The acinar cells create these little clusters. The clusters themselves that you see are referred to as acini, which are going to be clusters of these pancreatic cells that are creating our enzymes. The enzymes that it's going to create are going to be amylase, that's going to work on carbohydrates, lipase, which is going to work on lipids, nuclease, which is going to break down nucleic acids, protease, to break down proteins, and peptidase, which is going to break down our polypeptide chains. So we have every food possible that can be broken down by enzymes that are created within the pancreas. Now, your textbook goes over many specific names of different types of those. I just want you to know these main categories that are going to be created by these cells and deposited into that pancreatic duct. And then notice we'll see that the pancreatic duct is going to extend the whole length of the pancreas, and it's going to deposit into the small intestine. Because we are using these ducts, this is going to be the exocrine function of the pancreas, as opposed to when we talked about the islets over here. These islets over here are going to be secreting substances that are going to help regulate our blood sugar levels. So these are going to be like our alpha and beta cells that are secreting our glucagon and our insulin that are part of this islet. Now, these do not have specific ducts where they're going to be taking it to like the main pancreatic duct because it's an endocrine cell, so it's going to be depositing their secretions directly into the bloodstream. So you can see here's a blood vessel that is running right down the center of it. Now, all these secretions that we're making with all of these different digestive enzymes, they're creating what we refer to as pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice is going to be alkaline because of that bicarbonate, and it's somewhere going to be in a pH of 7.5 to even 8, upper 8s. It's going to contain our digestive buffers, the enzymes we just talked about, water, and different ions. The secretion that we have from this is going to be dictated by things that happened within that gastric regulation. So if we go back here and we see, there's where these little guys are coming in, the CCK, the GIP, and the secretin. When we look at the pancreas is going to trigger secretion by that secretin and the CCK that we just saw during gastric regulation. That means that we're not depositing all these enzymes randomly. We're not just always having them go into the duodenum. We have to have a trigger of that food product coming in to the duodenum, and then at that point, the pancreas is going to start creating its pancreatic juice and then releasing it into the duodenum to start digesting that chyme. Our next accessory organ is going to be the liver. The liver is going to be very important for digestion as well as a ton of other functions, which we'll talk about in a second. So let's look at the gross anatomy here. We can see that this is going to be lying right underneath where the diaphragm is going to be. The liver is going to be our largest visceral organ, and it's going to be found in that right hypochondriac and epigastric region because it's so large it's going to span across a couple of regions. It's going to be wrapped in a very tough fibrous capsule. So when you do a dissection and you feel the liver feels really hard. So it is harder to damage the liver from trauma than it is the spleen and the pancreas, which are much more delicate organs in that same area. It's going to be divided into distinctive lobes. Those lobes are actually physically separated by this falciform ligament that's going to be right between the two of them. It's going to stabilize the position of the liver, and you're also going to have a round ligament, which is going to be the thickening of a posterior margin, and it marks the path where your fetal umbilical vein was initially. So you can actually follow this, and it attaches to where your belly button is going to be. So if you ever poke inside your belly button and it gives you a weird feeling internally, that's because it's attached to your liver. Now, this is a posterior surface of it, so you can see underneath it that we are going to have this bile duct, which is attached to the green gallbladder. So the gallbladder is going to be right here, and it's going to oftentimes look like a flattened balloon when you do a dissection, stuck to the underside of the liver, and it is actually pretty green in color. So that greenish structure that you have connected with the bile duct. Now, those two are connected by the bile duct because the liver, for digestion, is going to be making bile, and that bile is going to be stored within the gallbladder, and then our gallbladder is going to hang on to it, and it's going to concentrate it until we're ready to release it into the duodenum. Now, notice what we're looking at up here is going to be a sectional diagrammic view of what we're looking at for the liver itself. So this is going to give you a good relative view of where the other organs are going to be. So here is our liver, and as you can see, the liver is this really large structure that's going to be right here. Now, this is a superior view, so we're viewing it from the top and coming down. And then you can see here, this is where our lesser omentum is going to be. Remember, that's one of those mesenteries that's helping to anchor our abdominal organs in place. And you can see it is going to be attached right here to the stomach. So we have our stomach attached to our lesser omentum, which is going to be attached to where the liver is going to be. You can see your aorta, inferior vena cava are going to be very close by. That's very important because we need a good active blood supply that's going to the liver, because remember, that's going to be metabolized and processing a lot of our nutrients that we need to put back into our blood supply. And then you can see here is the spleen along with the stomach. We don't generally talk about the spleen a lot, and it's not really related to digestion. We will talk about later when we talk about immunity in the lymphatic system, but you can see the spleen is lying right next to the stomach, and it is also going to be attached by a ligament that's going to be over here. So again, this is going to be the posterior side, this is going to be anterior, so you can see the sternum of the rib cage here, you can see the vertebra that are going to be over here, and then of course you are going to have all the different layers of muscles, and then that layer of fat that's going to be surrounding it. So the main function we're going to talk about is metabolic regulation. So the metabolic regulation means that the cells within the liver are extracting nutrients and toxins from your blood as it's coming in, reserves as well. We're going to go ahead and metabolize carbohydrates, lipids, amino acids. All of those are going to be regulated by the liver. And it's also going to remove things from your blood, things that are like ammonia, nitrogenous waste sort of things. It's going to remove that out of your blood. Things that are drugs and toxins are also going to be removed by the liver. And we're also going to have some vitamin storage in there. So that's all the metabolism stuff that it's going to be regulating. It's also going to be regulating your blood, because remember, your blood's going to be in there. White blood cells are going to be in there. You're going to make your plasma proteins, which are part of your cardiovascular system. It's going to remove any excess hormones that are in your blood, remove the excess antibodies, remove and store toxins from your blood. So it's regulating your blood a lot. And it's going to produce bile. So that bile that we're talking about is very important for fat digestion.